those other examples of kind of how it's changed the world today, like other examples of how the blockchain or the crypto or smart contracts have actually changed how we do business or how we live today?
Yeah. Well, we have a company called BitPesa in Africa, and they translate Nigerian naira for Tanzanian shillings, and they do it on the Bitcoin block. They change the naira to Bitcoin, and then the Bitcoin to shillings, and so that the rails are in Bitcoin. And they've done it with many countries, and now moving off the African continent, going to Southeast Asia, other places. And they've done incredibly well, allowing these people to do business in their own currency, but then translating it and storing it, maybe holding it in Bitcoin, makes it so that it's a trusted system that otherwise maybe wouldn't have a lot of trust to it. And then, here's how it really changes the world. If let's say you're in Africa or, one of the bad places like Venezuela or whatever, and you've got a bad dictator, and anybody who builds anything of great value, the dictator comes in with the military and takes it away from you. Or it's just Nigeria, where the naira just drops in value 50, 70% a year. And so that any value that you create, any value you want to hold and you've created with your business, just disappears over time. So what they can do now is they can operate in Bitcoin, and these people are operating their whole businesses in Bitcoin, and they're storing their value in Bitcoin. And that value can be all, it's out there on the wires. It's out on the internet. So it gives spirit to people who otherwise may not have spirit. They think, if I do anything and build anything of value, the government's just going to take it from me. So I'm just going to live for today. Those people are now saying, I can build something and I can hold that value.
What about for countries that are a lot more stable, like the US and the UK and Australia? So what does it take for it to change how we do business here?
Well, the US just printed how many trillions of dollars, making all your dollars worth less. And that's what happens. And then, if it gets out of hand, you get inflation, and that inflation compounds. And then you start getting the same thing. People don't want to work because if they build anything of value, it's taken away from you through inflation. So no country is immune, and all countries, look, we're smart. Everybody, all these business people in the world, they're smart. They look and they say, well, wait, that country's doing something, wrong. They're printing too much money, or they're not operating well. They're living beyond their means or whatever. And so then they go, okay, I'm going to move to another country. And so we actually created something, the Draper Innovation Institute. It's draperhero.org. And you can look.
You have so many companies, don't you, Tim? You have so many.
Well, this is a nonprofit. This is a nonprofit.
Yeah. Okay.
And you can look at all the countries, and you can see which ones are good places to go and innovate. And it turns out, on the whole, the U.S. is still number one, but it's fast on its heels are Singapore and Switzerland. And then you see countries like Turkey starting at about 80th, and then they drop to like 140th because this guy comes in and says, I'm taking everything, and Bitcoin's illegal here and whatever else. Whenever you see something like that, then you go, as an entrepreneur, you say, oh, I'm going to go to another country. And that's why there's a mass exodus from Argentina going into Uruguay. It's the reason there's a huge brain drain out of Turkey. There's been a brain drain out of Greece for years and years. It's really because you're looking, if you're an entrepreneur, you can now move.
Yeah.
And you can operate anywhere, and you can build your business in Bitcoin and build your value in Bitcoin and hold it.
So then for these mainstream companies that, they're operating like in fiat, they are traditional, but they know this blockchain thing, the crypto thing, it's coming, I should start preparing somehow, right? But they already have this operation that is running. They've got staff, employees, they've got offices and stuff like that. How does a company like that start to embrace this technology now, rather than they wait too long and some startup comes and eats their lunch, right? How does a company start to do this?
Okay, let's say, well, I'll try two different angles here. One is, if you're a fiduciary and let's say you're Apple's CFO and you're looking at whatever he's got, they've got hundreds of billions,
250 billion offshore or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay, cash.
Billions of dollars, and it's in fiat. And you realize that the US government just printed trillions of US dollars. So all of those billions of dollars just dropped in value. And you think, oh boy, if they do that again, it's going to drop again. And if it starts to be a spiral, we're gonna have a problem. And we hold all this stuff, and it's getting to be worth less and less as we sit here.
Mm.
Well, in that case, you would say, well, I want to buy Bitcoin because I need to hedge against inflation, because there are only 21 million Bitcoin out there, but the dollars can keep being printed depending on which government it is and whatever. Okay, that's from the fiduciary point of view.
And buy some Bitcoin and store some of the cash reserves into Bitcoin, step one.
And that's where, Elon did that with some of the Tesla cash, because he said, they're printing these dollars. We need a hedge.
Mm-hmm.
And then so did a bunch of other people. And then MicroStrategy's made it a huge part of their asset base, and it grew.
Yeah.
It's now you invest in that company, you're actually investing in Bitcoin as much as you are the SaaS product.
Mm-hmm.
But then there are some that are saying, well, look, I'm assuming this much inflation, so I'm going to buy this much Bitcoin. And they're the ones who are really paying good attention to the money, and they're not just sort of seat of the pants. And
sure.
And so the fiduciaries, that's number
one way. Yes.
The other thing that's happening is on the consumer side, and Elon hit it on both sides. He said, and we accept Bitcoin for these cars. And I think he may be using OpenNode too, because the transaction speed is incredibly fast. So if you use OpenNode, you don't have to pay the banks 2.5% to 4% when somebody swipes a card. And so I think the retailers and e-tailers are going to go, we accept Bitcoin because it's going to save us 2.5% to 4%, which seems not that much to the consumer, but to that retailers run a very thin margin. That could triple their profits if they can get all their customers to buy it in Bitcoin. And if Bitcoin continues to increase in value, it's even better. But most of those retailers sort of go, okay, we're going to accept Bitcoin, and then but we got to make sure that 80% of the money we bring in is fiat, and the other 20 can be Bitcoin, and we can store the Bitcoin, but we need the fiat to run our business.
Okay,
for now.
Yeah,
for now.
I was about to ask you that question.
But eventually, it's going to be a full crypto walled garden, and then they won't need the fiat anymore. And at that point, when we look and we go, retailers are going to be saying things like, well, I don't take fiat cash, I only take Bitcoin. And that will be the turning point where all of a sudden people will be just trying to bail out of their cash and moving into Bitcoin. And that's when it goes through the roof. We will have extraordinary prices on Bitcoin at that time.
So just on that point, just to clarify, so basically like you're saying, take a proportion of your sales like in Bitcoin, but store that, right? Because like if you're going to keep exchanging it, it can be volatile because of the fiat currency, right? So store the sales in Bitcoin, but accept it. And then in time,
I'm not giving them any advice.
Not
on
advice,
how to run their business.
but I'm just trying to kind of understand how you're thinking about it.
That is what people are doing. At Draper University, we've been taking Bitcoin for years. 2 guys who paid in Bitcoin basically paid for the school for about 4 years. But we accept Bitcoin through OpenNode, and we accept it for rent in Hero City. We accept it in all sorts of different ways, and it's an easy, frictionless way to get Bitcoin. We store all 100% of that, but if I had to run my business hand to mouth, I would hold on to the currency that I can still buy the food with. And until that's Bitcoin, once that's Bitcoin, then there's no reason to hold any government cash.